Hi, everyone. Welcome to Wine, Wealth, and Tea podcast. I am your host, Chrissy, here for another great conversation. I have my guest and friend, Miss Jodi. She's here today as a guest on Wine, Wealth, and Tea.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Chrissy.
Thank you for coming and dealing with all of our technical difficulties and being patient enough with us while we work it through. As I keep telling everybody, doing a podcast, a solo, um, really, it's not an easy task.
Mm-mm.
And it becomes a learning experience along the way.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much for your patience. And we're here today because it's just time to talk about something a little bit more different than relationships. It's time to talk about something that is dear to both of us because that's how we met.
Yes,
It's time to talk about wine.
it's a very important part of life.
I would say I think I'm going to need a lot of it today after all of that we went through.
It's Sunday. We deserve it.
We deserve it, right? So, Julie, I want you to tell people who you are.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Jodi, and I am born and raised from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Started working in hospitality. I think I was about 16 years old, something like that.
Wow.
Um, Started learning more about wine in 2019. I was working at a wine bar. Didn't know anything about wine. The manager there was like, Jodi, this is a grape. And I said, oh, what's that? And then we started learning about wine. It was so good. And I fell in love with it. So I learned that I can have a career in wine. Started studying. I have 1.5 million books on wine, soil, producer, suppliers, years, climate, enology, all of that fun stuff. So I can be well rounded, learn and working on getting my certificate so that I can be a master som, hopefully by 2028 is the goal.
Oh, so what does a psalm mean? Please tell people the full name of it. What is it?
Yes, so a sommelier essentially, and some say it's sommelier, some say it differently. Yeah, it's French, right? So it has to be a little bit fancy. So a somm is a person that essentially knows the intricate details about wine,
Okay.
from the soil and the climate
Mhm.
to the harvest, to the growth, to the stages, all the way to bottling, to selling. And then you look at like the different avenues of wine, right? From importing, exporting, retail value, restaurant value, all of that fun stuff. Because a som is different than a person that takes the classes from the WSET, the Wine and Spirit Education Trust.
Okay.
It's different than that. A som essentially is almost like a performer, right? So we take what the producer and the supplier is giving us and we sell the wine and convey their story, their history,
Basic
and
education of the product.
exactly. So you get to not only understand what's in the bottle, but where it came from. You get to understand why the producers are giving this piece of art to people and why they chose this particular vintage or this particular blend to share with people. So it's a fun job. I love it. I get to drink for a living, which is great. Eat for a living, but more than anything, I get to understand the beauty of the earth and how everything is all connected for what we eat and drink and how it affects the body. And I meet amazing people all along the way.
You
So it's
do
great.
because that's how we met.
Yeah.
So it's been has it been 5 years this year?
Was it before COVID?
COVID.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's
That's
been,
crazy.
no, I'm sorry.
It was maybe right
It
after
was
COVID.
after COVID when we were starting to kind of go back out.
Okay.
Everything during COVID. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So it was in the midst,
Maybe about
and
5 years now.
this is a 2021.
Okay, so
So
4 or 5 years
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a wine tasting event,
Mm-hmm.
and you came to explain Polari wines to all of my guests, and I was just blown away by your education,
Thank you.
your language that you use to convey to people of color that didn't really know much about wine. So you were there to fully educate us, and that to me is very important
Yes.
in our culture to learn more
Mm-hmm.
about something that we've been excluded from for so long.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I got involved in the wine business. But it is still very, very, very hard for people of color. Um, can you explain a little bit about how the process works? I've been telling people there's a three-tier system. But I don't think you quite understand,
Yeah.
and you're included in that three-tier system because really, if you wanted to say it's four tiers, you know, you
Right.
producers kind of work hand in hand.
Yes.
So with that three-tier system, can you explain that to people just so they can know I am telling the truth?
Yes. So the United States has a very complicated history when it comes to alcohol, as you know, prohibition and all that fun stuff. So everything is regulated because, of course, the US is a business and alcohol is a great business. I'm still fairly young because the United States is young. So I'm a wine concierge essentially. So I connect suppliers and producers together with importers, exporters, and do the education part about wines and tastings and all that fun stuff, right? So the three-tier system is very interesting because essentially you have the person who brings in the wine, right? So you have that brought in, normally an importer, and that importer has to work with essentially a government entity, right? So in North Carolina, it's the ABC board that everything has to be registered through them.
Right.
So you have the ABC board, everything is registered through them. That's overseen through the TTB. So once it's registered and it's legally allowed in the state, now you have a distributor that has to receive the wine from the importer and that's registered around, right? So now you have the distributor that's there. The distributor then has reps that will take the wine and bring it to you and essentially sell you the wine.
Right.
And then from the rep, then the retail store or the restaurant will be able to get the product, right? It'll be able to get the wine. So it has multi-layers. You can't buy wine directly.
No.
Legally. I mean, what you do,
It's
you know,
you.
on your own
Yeah,
is up to you.
yeah.
But legally, for it to be sold and registered and for you not to have any due process against you, it has to go through the distribution system. So distributor, and then the wine rep, and then from the wine rep, it goes into the entity. And then from the entity, the store, the restaurant, what have you, then it gets to the consumer is how it works.
Now, there has been, recently over the years, been other ways, that the products can go through the system without technically the distributor in a way.
Yes.
Which they're still distributors because they hold the licensing.
True.
So with me, I am no longer with a set distributor, in a sense. But my product is sold online and it can only be moved around because they have the licensing to do so.
Correct. Direct shipping, essentially. Yes. So you can ship directly to consumer.
Yes, it's called a DTC.
Yes.
Direct to consumers. And with that, I was able to bring my products back online, as long as it's someplace else, to be shipped out.
Yes. And it's registered in the state.
And it's registered in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to take a little sip and things, as we continue to discuss. And this is my Polari white wine blend. It's of course from Napa, my favorite place. And
you got it? Want me to pour?
Yeah. Okay. It is my first blend that I came up with, and it's changed. We had one that's a little bit lighter in color, and now we're a little bit darker because we changed some of the grapes. But I'm gonna let Jodi kind of tell us a little bit. I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh gosh,
I want people to understand what wine really is. With me being basically the producer, I have to work with the somm very closely so that I can make sure that what I produce, a client is going to enjoy, and that what I'm saying is in it. You can taste those notes, or we can pair with it to help bring those notes out more.
Right.
So we really worked a lot together in this process.
Right. So as a negociant, essentially a person that would buy the grapes from the producer from the vineyard, and you would private label it.
Yes.
Right. So you have to taste a lot. Like when you go there to find your wine, you taste through many a barrel or stainless steel, what have you, however it's fermented and aged. And you choose the blend, right? Because as the negociant, you're buying the product in order to sell it to someone else. So you do work very closely with the winemaker, with the producer, and then the lead winemaker that produces the blends as well. You work really closely with them. So it's an interesting process because you get to dictate what your palate would like.
I want it to taste like.
Exactly. And if they do blends, which is really cool, you get to really have your hand in the process. So it becomes a personal passion project, essentially, whenever you get to do that. And the fact that you get to share with the world is something that's amazing. when it comes to private labeling. There's a lot of people that are starting to private label now outside of the United States, not only due to the price, but due to the soil and due to the palate that they want to get.
Right.
And so Napa is very near and dear to your heart. So, and the soil over that way, as well as something that you really like, the grapes in Napa and the region where she gets her grapes from, Lake County, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's, you get a lot of sunlight.
Yeah.
The soil tends to absorb a lot of the heat. So at night, whenever it gets really cold, it still keeps the vines nice and warm. So then the grapes can continue to grow. So they're really big and they're really juicy. Like the grapes are very, very juicy. And you smell that whenever you are smelling your wine, right? So generally, we smell our wine not only to start our connection with the wine, but 70% of what you taste comes from your nose. So if you have a cold, what have you, you're doing a blind tasting, you're probably not going to work. But it helps dictate, like how sweet it is. When you look at it, the age of it, has it been aged in a barrel? Has it been aged in stainless steel? Is it aged in a cement vat? Things of that nature.
Barrel. My rosé, which I no longer make, that was stainless steel.
Yes.
This is barrel. And we hold a glass like this to keep it from warming so fast, correct?
Correct. So I'm not a fan of stemless glasses because my hands, I'm hot natured in general. So it warms up the glass too fast and then it warms up the wine. So now that you have the stem, if you hold it there, it allows for the natural progression of it to warm up, which is great because then it releases the secondary and tertiary notes. So you just get this beautiful, complex love in a glass, right? That's telling you.
When you talk about, when you talk about wine, it's romantic.
Wine is romantic.
It's just beautiful art. When you explain it, it's captivating. And when I first met you and you started talking, and I was like, she gets it. And I can't put it into words. She just put everything that I'm feeling and thinking into words. So that's just amazing. And let's take a sip and see what we.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, just a side note, you can tell that it's been aged in a barrel because the color is a little bit warmer or golden hue. Generally, if it's stainless steel, it has a lighter straw type of color because it doesn't have any of the properties that's given to the wine from the barrel.
Okay.
So, and the barrels are charred. So then you have this like warmth, vanilla type notes that come to it, baking spices, nutmeg. It makes it a little bit more on the creamy side of things.
Right. It's that one is a aged barrel, French oak.
French oak, yeah.
Yes.
First use, second use?
It's second use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it still has some, but I guess, but let's taste this one.
Yes, totally.
It does. It tastes like honey.
This is the one we changed.
Okay.
Yes. Extra. During.
Yeah, it has those honeysuckle notes and some honey notes. I can taste the nectarine. I get a lot of like this perfume, aromatic type. Whenever you're walking like at night after a long day at the beach and you're going back home, when you first get out the car and you just get a warmth of like the grass and just a warm summer night, the heavier, thicker, humid nights, that's kind of what it makes me think of. Yeah. But it's great. One thing I like about your wines, Chrissy, is that your wines are really good for people who are like they're nervous to start tasting wine, but they want to try something that is very palate friendly. All your wines are very palate friendly. So even if someone's like, "Oh, I can't drink wine," which I get it. Wine is very intimidating.
Yeah, it is. It's a process. I didn't start out in wines per se. I didn't know because I didn't grow up with wine or liquors or anything like that. But as I began to become an adult and was more social,
Right.
I would try different things. And what I noticed is I didn't like liquor, but I was intrigued about wines. And I tried sweet wine, and I would often get the worst headaches. I was like, what
The
is this?
residual sugar.
Yeah, what is this stuff? Why do I have these headaches? And then I was introduced to more wines of blends, and I like that. I can deal with that.
Mm.
And it was just more sophisticated, more my speed, more
Mhm.
class and different things. So I started to dig more into learning about wines. And as we taste that, we have a whole board that I made up for today. It has some dark chocolate, some milk chocolate, some strawberries, apples, some blueberry vanilla goat cheese, regular cheese, blueberries, and tuna with crackers here. So what would you pair up with our white wines?
So because I have notes of honey and nectarine and I would say like toasted golden apple,
Mhm.
I think everything on the board will probably go really well. I'm a little on the fence about the vanilla blueberry.
Yeah.
I feel like that may be too sweet for me.
Yeah.
I'm not in the business of really sweet things, but I'm willing to try it. For your palate, it doesn't matter what you like with it. And people say white wines can only go with certain foods, red wine. Yeah.
Red wine, and that's fine too, but it's really what you will enjoy. So,
I mean, what grows together goes together. But I say you eat what you want to eat and you pair with how you want to pair it. I like really weird food pairings
mhm.
in life in general. So it reflects whenever I drink wine because I'm searching for different things. I'm searching for the complexity and kind of that shock in my palate where my tongue is like, what in the world is going on here? And it's like dancing in my mouth and all these different notes are coming out and all of my sensories are being talked to. I look for that because I'm looking for the conversation that the winemaker's trying to have with me
Mm.
from the wine. So that's what I do. So I'm
Like
actually
that
going
with
to
the
start
strawberry.
with this.
That was interesting. It made it sharper. You know,
Sharper how?
uh, the intensity of the wine itself just seemed a little bit more, I don't know, spark after eating the strawberry. I don't know if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
it just amplified the taste of the wine itself. That was different. And the tuna probably would go really good too, because it's, So you just came back from France, right?
I did. I was in France. Oh, we haven't had a chance to talk about it.
Oh, so this is
Mm.
first time exclusive. I'm getting to hear about
Wow.
France.
Yeah,
I've
France is
seen the bottles online though.
right. So Vin Exo Paris was incredible.
Hmm.
It was extremely overwhelming when we get there. There's just humans everywhere, backpacks everywhere, and just wine everywhere. That's really good, right? I like the spiciness with it because of the
So this
sweetness
is
with the wine.
so it's a sweet Thai chili tuna.
Okay. Yeah, that tastes like it. It's very, very good.
Mhm.
With the wine because sweet and spicy go together. But my gosh, so we get to Paris. We stayed in Versailles.
Mhm.
So Versailles, I love it. We were right by the palace, and we did like some tourist things. So we went to
Palace. I know this.
we were walking distance from the palace, which is great because Paris has so many things going on. I'm not like a things going on person all the time when I go on vacation. So we stayed in Versailles with my mom and my sister, and we had a blast. Now my sister knows a lot more about wine than I do, and my mom is such a party, so I love traveling with her. She's one of my favorite travel partners.
Mhm.
So we all went because I was meeting producers and suppliers, obviously for the company. So we get there, we get there after flying overnight. We stop in Montreal. Montreal is gorgeous.
Oh, God.
We get to Paris, try to figure out how to get a taxi in Paris because I thought my French was good. My French is not good. And we're working on it. We're working on it. But it was not as good as I thought it was. And so we're about to go with this taxi gentleman. And then as we're walking, the guy at the airport goes, um, don't go with him. So he's a fraud. I was like, holy smokes. Okay, he's a fraud. So what do we do? And so we go downstairs. We're outside trying to figure out, mind you, it's like 30 degrees outside because it's winter time. So it's freezing. And I'm like, okay, well, how can we figure out how to get to where we're going without being either A,
Kidnapped or fraud.
yeah, or someone trying to like hold us up for money and all this stuff because we're tourists. So I'm like, okay, let me find like the nicest person there and I'll negotiate with him because I'm a really good negotiator. So we negotiate with the guy and we end up going to Versailles. Gorgeous. So we get to our Airbnb. Airbnb is fantastic. Three bedrooms, two bathrooms for a week for under $1,000. Yes, and it was gorgeous, gorgeous. The full house, and we just jumped right in. So we go to Versailles, we go to the Louvre, we go to Paris, and then we get to the part where it's the Vin Expo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get there, and there's all these humans here.
And by the way, Ben,
Oh,
for those people
yes.
who may not know, It's for wines.
Yeah. Vin is how
Yeah.
they say it in French, and it's VIN. So it's something of Vin Expo, which is a wine expo. So we go in there and there's all these buildings. So it's called the Porte de Versailles. And so they have one building that's B Spirits. It has all the spirits, like all the liquors from all over the world that's there.
Wow.
Then they had a hall for all the Italian wine, it was a couple hundred in there. Then they had an international hall that had everyone else from the US, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Brazil, Austria, Germany, Moldova, Bulgaria, just all these like really smaller countries.
Were you sober?
We'll get to that. And then France. France had a three-level building with, I think, close to like 1,000 vendors. So where do you start?
Right.
Right? Where do you start? So my main focus were younger vineyards and younger producers so that I can work with them as they're growing and getting into the market because that's my passion. There's a lot that are already really established and they already have a name for themselves.
Right.
But I wanted to meet like new producers and new suppliers, new winemakers, new chef de caves. And those are the lead winemakers in Champagne because I love Champagne. And it was a blast. So we tried probably close to 200 to 300 different bottles of wine.
My God.
We had to pace ourselves, of course. There is spitting available where you can just taste it and then spit into a bucket.
That is the easiest way, so that it doesn't
That
go
is the
through
correct
body,
way to
the
do it.
bloodstream.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not do that. I did not, but I could have. I didn't.
You wanted the full experience of the
Of
wine.
course. And I met some of the most amazing producers, especially like from Corsica, from Brazil, from South Africa, some distributors from Moldova and Bulgaria, some really cool young new winemakers from Champagne, France.
Wow.
I was looking for Cape Verde, did not find any from there. So I'm actually going up to Boston to meet with some producers.
There's a lot of Cape Verdean people in Boston.
Yes.
My family is originally from Portugal. Not Cape Verde, but near, that
Right.
beach and everything. But I hear that there's a lot of Cape Verde.
And the Cape Verdean wine is amazing. It is amazing. It's so full of life. If you look at it, it's an island, right? So, and where the wine is stationed or the vineyards are, you have these beautiful vineyards, these full and robust sun-kissed grapes that just have the slight kisses and flutterings of the salt water as it goes past it.
You see how she explains this thing? She just makes you go, I need this
beautiful.
vacation and I need this wine.
You do.
While you have her like on audiobook listening to her explain the whole trip, you need it in your life. So
It's nothing like it. And some of the ones from Brazil have been like out of this world. I met this awesome one from in Santa Catarina, which is in the south of Brazil. Really cool wines that are from there that are fairly young. And then in the northeast part of Brazil, they have this vineyard where they produce sparkling wine. But for me, they're too sweet.
Okay.
So I'd have to have it with something spicy. But there, it's majority African, right? The northeast part of Brazil is almost, I would say, 90% African.
My uncle was just there.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to.
Like there's a lighter part and then there's a darker part.
Yes.
And he found because he's darker than you, that he was more comfortable in the darker part than in the lighter part of the medium. He was kind of almost gawked at because they weren't used to seeing someone of his hue color descend to the city.
Yep.
And I was in total shock.
Yeah.
To hear that. That's true. Color separation still exists anywhere you go around the world. Even if it's just one whole country, they still separate based on color. We have a lot of separation in the wine industry based on sex and color. And I've experienced it. And I'm sure even you as, becoming more engaged in everything, is it hard to get through that door because of you being one, a woman, to, a woman of color?
For me, no, because I like a challenge.
Okay.
I'm super rebellious in my life. And I love being tested. I love when they're like, well, why is this 13.5% when I know it could be 15%? Like just questions like that. So I love it because there's some people that want to get into the industry and they're a little bit more sensitive than I am. And so when they face opposition, they'll retreat.
Yeah, it'll shut you down.
And I thrive off of opposition. I'm like, let's go for it.
Right.
Okay, you want to go toe to toe? This is great. We can
Right.
dance, and
Right.
I'm going to square up. Let's go. So that pushes me to do more. So then, when those people eventually come back, hopefully that way would have been paid for them a little bit more, or they'll have a resource to help them. Because I know me reaching out, I didn't receive a lot of help
Yeah.
from people that I reached out to. They may like say hi or whatever, but unless you have like a ton of credentials and things of that nature, they're not really open.
I'm gonna try this blueberry
Tell me what you think.
goat cheese. Now, I didn't start liking goat cheese until I started pairing it with wine.
Hmm. Goat cheese is tangy, so I enjoy that.
But very vanilla.
I don't know. I'm not keen on vanilla.
It's delicious.
You love it?
I love the sweetness.
Mm. That's probably what I won't like about
The
it.
sharpness of the goat
Mhm.
cheese. But the sweetness, that is insanely good. That's like a dessert.
I'll try it.
I'm gonna try it.
Mhm.
You have to try it. That is a dessert. Try it. Goat cheese. Blueberry vanilla. You won't believe where I found it. Howdy.
Mhm.
It had a cranberry cinnamon one too.
That one's not bad. I've had that one. I do that in my salads,
Okay.
which is really
like
nice.
this. And I'm not a goat cheese eater. I'm not goat cheese.
Well, again, goat cheese is also good for your heart.
Really?
No, don't quote me. I'm not a doctor.
I'll eat more. I will
But
definitely eat more.
I definitely recommend that you do.
So,
A little bit more.
more of France. Did you get any of the wines home?
So that was not one of the things. I'm going to pour a little more in your glass.
Thank you so much, dear.
That actually was not one of the goals.
Okay.
The goal was to get in contact with people, yes, that are looking to have their wines here in the States. Of course, that was slightly paused because of the threat of the 200% tariffs. And that was a huge scare for the wine industry. So that was a little intimidating.
Yes.
And a lot of suppliers that I've met actually wanted to make sure that what side of the political world you were on before they did business with you.
Scary. Now people want to know what your political affiliation is before. Yeah, it's like before it was religion, now it's politics.
Well, I think it's more.
Deeper than that, you know.
I think it's about morality, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
in the United States, and I can't speak to other cultures. I don't know how their political systems work, but from what I've seen, and of course what you hear and what you've experienced, you can see that there's just a moral divide in regards to why people support certain issues and certain people. And it's not about politics, it's about humanity. And it's about the divinity and humanity that I've noticed that the conversations have led around. So recently, a friend of mine had one producer that came from Champagne, and their champagne is delicious. So that I think it's Trubel Schlosser is the name of it. And they came and they were just so welcoming and friendly, and they had a lot of questions, right? They had a lot of questions with the distributor of, just life. How do they view life and the morality of things? And what I noticed when I was in France, a lot of people had questions like, "Is that really going on in the United States?" And I was like, "Well, no, it's not. It's not a reality show. It's true. It's really
we live in a reality show every day."
And they didn't believe it. They thought that we were joking. They thought it was extreme. And it's interesting how every industry now has been touched by the politics,
Right.
because of the morality issue and because of the human issue, the humanity issue. And for me, wine is a human business. It's a people business. And whenever your name of your company is Polare, right? And that means to
Have a conversation.
have a conversation. So you're not going to have a conversation with somebody that's only going to be, arguing or degrading.
That's not a conversation.
Or disrespectful, right?
Right.
So you want to have an upbuilding conversation, even if you disagree, right? Even if you disagree. And when I drink wine with people of all nationalities, all backgrounds, all languages, we tend to come to disagree because we understand that we're people first. And it's okay if we agree to disagree, but we can keep going and still have upbuilding, insightful, challenging conversations. And that to me is probably the most important. And that's one thing that I love the most about wine that got me in love with wine is because it opened up the door to conversations and icebreakers and just a lot I didn't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's how I originally got started on things. And we're going to take a moment of a break and we'll come back to more of that conversation on how polarity got started. So give us a moment. We're going to graze on our table and we'll give you a moment to hear from our sponsors.
This episode of Wine, Wealth, and Tea podcast is sponsored by Some Reasons. Life is too short to not enjoy the beauty of wine, whether it's wine education, consultation, a private wine tasting and wine dinner, or an outing to a national or international vineyard. Contact Some Reasons at somreasons.com. That's SOMMEREASONS.com via TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn. There's always some reasons to let the world of wine enchant you. Sip slow, my friends.
All right, everybody. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that message from our sponsors. And we are back from our break. And we were just talking about the fact that Polare, how it all got started from a sense of wanting a conversation.
That's right. Let's talk about it.
I started out in the podcast world. That's where I started on Anchor.fm. That no longer exists. It turned into now, what are we using now? Spotify. So Anchor moved over to Spotify. Yes.
Okay.
And I was having these conversations and I told everybody the story. And my daughter goes, you need to think of a way to tie in conversations to have something that is merged, something that's close to you.
Right.
And I thought about a time when I was dating a guy and he took me to a winery. And in that moment, I thought he was one of those. We see that didn't happen. Meanwhile, I'm watching girls run around going, and I'm just there sipping wine, but enjoying it. But in that moment, I looked around and I'm like, these people are having fun and they're connecting and they're talking. This wine is making them want to talk.
Yeah.
How can I get involved in this? Where can I find me in this? I didn't see any of us in this. So I started digging and looking and I started finding other products, a corkscrew and different things.
Theopolis Vineyard. Delicious wine. Yes. Delicious. Absolutely. Theopolis, thank you. Love you.
And I started doing more research and, finally reached out to some people in Napa after hauling over the country. I wanted it made here because it's very expensive to import. Not just to make it, but import it. And that's go through a whole lot of other things. And that's from people that I know that import their wines from different regions. But I decided to stay within the state so that I can put my hands on the product and continue to develop it and tweak it if need be. And I found me a vineyard that was reasonable, that worked with brand owners. And when I started to say, what means conversation? I wanted to keep it in that realm. It had to mean conversation. Sorry. That's okay. I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it. We'll see. And my friend was like, you have to talk. So I want to wait to see what you think.
I love goat cheese.
Okay.
I love blueberries. And I'm okay with vanilla.
You're okay with vanilla. It's not really, it's just sweet. It has a sweetness. I really was like, vanilla.
Well, the goat cheese is tangy.
Yeah.
So I think it
But it's more dessert-like.
You think? I don't know. I'm going to try it on the whole cracker.
Yeah. So, after I partnered up and decided that that was what I was going to go with as my vineyard and my producers, I started looking up and I typed in conversations in other languages. And Polare just stuck out to me. And at first I could not pronounce it, as so many people think you pronounce it. So I'm on Google pressing the button, Polare, 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 like over and over and over again. And I'm like, that sounds so just,
Electrical, yeah.
It was just, I think I like that. And that's where the whole thing came from. I was like, it's Polare. It's a conversation. I want to bring people back around a table to have conversations. And, we developed and Eventually, I tried my hand at in-state, because you were with me on some of those rides trying to get it in-state. And it was here, but it just wasn't what I envisioned. And I think it's because the market is so saturated.
I wouldn't say it's saturated.
Mhm.
I would say it's saturated. Well, Charlotte's not saturated. It's a growing city,
Yes.
and wine does not reign king here.
Here.
Beer does. There's like 28 million breweries.
Yeah.
However, when you look at larger cities that have an identity, DC, Chicago, New York, Philly, Atlanta, Boston, people go out just to drink wine and they don't need something to do
Right.
in order to go to drink wine. Here in Charlotte, people need something to do in order to go to a winery to drink wine.
Okay.
And because it's still so new and because it's so mainstream, Charlotte is a corporate town with corporate mindset. So they look for big names. So that's what they go towards, right? Because that's just the mindset that's here. So companies in turn will focus on big names, big brands, and ones that are well known instead of like these boutique, absolutely amazing solo, owner type wines. They don't do that here. And then the distributors, there's more popping up now that are amazing, that focus on boutique wines, that focus on ones that are newer, ones that are younger, ones that are just not as mainstream. But those are some fairly new distributors that are looking for those wines, but finding places to buy them that are not so mainstream is the challenge, because Charlotte's mind isn't like that yet. So I wouldn't say it's saturated. There's a lot of room for growth. It's just the mindset isn't there. It's not like DC where they're like, oh, this is from East Jablip. I never had it. I'll try it.
Right.
Here it's like, oh, it's from East Jablip, but I never heard of it before. But does so-and-so drink it? There's a rapper saying there's some girl on TV see it, and they need reason.
They need reason to care.
Or, they just hear a name and they don't understand what's going on because the education's not there yet. So we're working on that. So they just go with what they know. They'll go for, I saw this at Harris Teeter, so I'll buy it at a restaurant. Why would you do that? And it's the server's job and the manager's job to be like, hey, if you drink this mainstream, then you should try this one here.
Right.
And that education and that upselling and just understanding the beauty of wine isn't there yet, because your wine would do very well in those markets, because your wine is, again, it's crowd pleasing. And it's easy to drink, and they're fun, and it's great for people starting out with wine. It's great for people that have drunk wine for a long time and they just want something they can just throw back and relax to. Your wine's really good with that. But I wouldn't say the market's saturated, because that's certainly not the case in the United States.
Okay.
But it's just the knowledge isn't there.
The knowledge isn't there. Okay.
And the appreciation isn't there.
Well, I will correct myself with that, because now I know the knowledge is just not there. And you are in that space that can give people the knowledge that they need to help keep people like myself in business. Because as I tell people all the time, wine is not a cheap business to start.
It's just like golf, right? It's expensive.
That's what I was thinking. I'm glad I did it. I would never change my path. But this was not I'm just gonna get something, and this is not to belittle any business. I'm just gonna get something and press this button. There it is. This was okay. Let me take out this savings. Let me get this 401k. Let me save up this. Let me get this part-time job.
Wine is very expensive.
And they tell you. I mean, even in the interview that I just saw when the tariff thing was coming, he says, if you're in this business to make money, you're in the wrong business.
Yep. It's a labor of love.
It is. This has been a labor of love for me. That is for sure. If you're thinking that I'm sitting over here,
rolling in dough,
no,
shit. But it's a process. The wine industry, it takes a lot of time and dedication, and you're jumping through hoop after hoop, and then you have to pivot and pivot and pivot. And the industry is beautiful. It can be very lucrative.
Some amazing people.
It's so fun. Yeah. And you travel the world either through the glass or physically. Like, your world changes with wine.
Your view changes. It really does.
How you eat, your habits change. What you're looking forward to changes, and wine does all of that when it's used responsibly, right? When you drink it responsibly, of course. And it's just one of those things that it's life altering. I owe my life to wine, right? And it's very life altering. And I wish everybody can find something that'll lead them to their purpose, right? When it's your purpose, wine is your purpose. Well, wine can have this, it's part of your journey. It really is. And for me, wine is where I belong. The wine industry is where I belong. I believe that. And whenever you find that, all you gotta do is share it with people. Like, here comes that wine girl talking about wine again. Absolutely, I'm gonna talk about wine, but we can talk about a lot of things too. But I mean, it's just one of those things that it just opens up the door. And I love that your wine does that. And I love that people who've tried it, you've only had good reviews.
Yes, thank you.
With it. And even ones that are like, I really don't drink wine, but it's something, that is very surprising. Well, you have ruby red in there, and that's a really welcoming file.
So
It has a little bit of sweetness to it. Yeah.
They're like, I don't drink wine. And I'm like, well, try the white. We'll try the red. I'll take it. I'll take a couple of bottles. And I'm like, red is for people that are hot and ready.
But your blend is very nice, right? It's not as dry. Yeah.
As most. And I tell people that all the time. A lot of times you're looking for, it doesn't have as oaky of a taste to it, even though it's in a French barrel. It's just not as oaky, so you don't get that sharpness, wood burnt taste almost in it. It's just smoother. The red was one of my favorites. It is one of my favorites. It is the top seller. I sell out red more than anything. But I'm starting to rethink my white blend after today. I don't know. I hadn't had it in a while. I tend not to drink my own supply.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But then again, wine is a living, breathing thing, right? It changes when you open it an hour to 4 hours to a day. It tastes completely different because it's forever changing. So when you had it,
so we have I have this cork here. Total wines.
Okay.
To help keep it a little longer. Tell people about corking and the life of it once it's been removed.
So that depends on how you seal it, right? So the cork, the goal is to keep it from turning into vinegar. And when you cork it, or when you uncork it, rather, when you open it, oxygen obviously flows into. Yeah. And when it oxidizes, if it oxidizes too much, too fast, it turns into vinegar because it's a chemical reaction with the yeast and with the sugar that may still be there, and then with the actual alcohol.
That has never been explained like that.
No? So essentially, once it's open, oxygen flows into it, and then it can change.
Starts to age.
Or it starts to oxidize.
Yes, because it's always aging.
Yes, it starts to oxidize. So whenever you seal it back up, you're stopping the oxygen supply. So it's not going to continue to age and have these chemical reactions in order for it to turn into vinegar.
So get a proper cork. Don't take aluminum foil or plastic or put the old cork trying to put it back in.
Well, you can.
Yeah, you can, but I would say, these are usable. They dishwasher safe. You should invest. They come in a set of 2, and this is not about the total wines, but this is where it's at. And they come in a set of 2, and they keep the wines pretty good.
Or you could just drink the whole bottle.
That part.
Because you're supposed to have it with people.
Yeah.
Right? So you can just finish one bottle. One bottle tends to be 5, sometimes 6 glasses.
Okay.
So just drink the whole bottle. But if you don't, drink responsibly, then have a cork where you can reseal your bottle properly. I would say drink it within 5 to 7 days once it's been opened.
Okay. So how do we finish this on Thursday?
We may finish it today. We may finish it today. Yes. But yeah, you want to stop the oxidation process.
Okay.
And whenever you do open it up, that's one of the beautiful things. That's why you have a glass, and why people swirl, is because you're letting the oxygen come into it, and then it opens up the wine, right? So now you have the initial grape notes that you have from the varietal, and then you have the notes of it aging, and then you have the notes from the soil as it starts to age, and then it turns vinegar. So you like to have
proud of you. Like it, when I met you, you were already flourishing, educated, but over the years, I've watched you just continue to grow, and you do what I always say: you keep moving forward. And I will say that a lot of were excited about our conversation today. I told them you were in next steps.
Oh,
They
no.
cannot
Sorry,
wait for this
guys.
to come out. Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, and she's a woman. I said, and she's younger than us. She's so educated, and she's so. I was just bragging.
Oh,
And
don't do that.
you really are bringing exactly what I expected to this conversation. The knowledge.
You're
that
making
is
me blush.
it's just needed. It's needed in our community, even with finding where men are getting into wine. They're starting to love it. And I mean men as far as men of color.
Mhm.
The older they get, they start to move away from spirits a little bit more.
Well, the wine industry is predominantly male. So, I mean, welcome home. For the ones that are starting to drink it again. But I mean, I'm in the process of looking for land so I can start a vineyard and a farm.
Yes, I remember we talked about
Yes. So when I meet people that have that already, like in France, for instance, at the expo, and even I went to the one in New York, there's one in Miami coming up. Majority of the winemakers that I met were men, and there were more women. I think it's up to maybe 30% are women, but I think only 1 or 2% are still women of color. And that's across the board, like women of color and minority.
that. It's just,
But
it's just,
it's a process. It's
yeah.
okay. It's
I
a
know.
process. It's hard.
It's like, geez. Yeah, but first of all, this is a generational field.
Yeah.
So, it's like, how do we break into this?
You kick down doors.
Yeah.
You kick down doors and
have to.
you show up and you study, you research, you reach out, you get more no's than yeses, you drink more. I like when I am out at a restaurant, I have my notebook. I take videos because I want to remember the bottle. And I'm like, oh man, I was just studying about Lake Garda in Italy, and they have one from Lake Garda or Sardinia, and I'm gonna have this bottle. My friend Aries and I, we go out to eat once a month or so, and we always go to he picks the style of food,
Okay.
I guess, or the cuisine, and then I'll pick the place or vice versa.
Wow.
And
Really, really doing your homework on
Well,
everybody. So,
he worked in New York with like 4 master somms and a Michelin star restaurant. And his palate's very different than mine because we like different things, but we are able to find out different things with the bottle. So we go and we geek out on wines and things of that nature. So I have my notebook. I have somebody with me normally that can bring up different notes about it so I can remember muscle memory.
okay.
And I'm constantly studying. I started watching a manga about wine. So now I want to write a comic book about wine. I don't know how to do it, but I have to do it. But it's one of the coolest fields because the sky is literally the limit. When I was in Chile, I went to Chile last year to learn about
travel.
well, it's a benefit and it's a write-off. Thank you, taxes. We love that. So we went to Chile and I went to probably like 10 vineyards and or maybe eight, something like that. And I was learning about vine training and how they
can branch up and link up and
yes.
they can merge. I learned a little bit about that last year for a birthday outing at a vineyard, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
It's a lot. It's very fun how they tie it up and what type of secateurs they have to use and all these things. So we're down there. I'm like, well, I didn't really know about this. So I'm like talking to the wine vineyard and I'm like picking up all this dirt and all this soil. And I'm just like, let me just, smell it a little bit, touch it, all this stuff. And I just keep falling in love with the industry. And there was actually more women with enotourism in South America than there are here, which I was surprised. However, there is room for growth and for knowledge. And I just, I recommend it.
So with that, I want to start tying our conversation up today. I want you to tell people where they can find you to be more educated. How can they get in contact with you for events and private events, big events, anything where they need to be educated, or if they're starting out their own wine brands, how can you help and assist them?
Yes, product development is something I'm very passionate about. So since Chrissy's so great, my company is called Some Reasons LLC. You can contact me via social media, Instagram or TikTok. And my website is sommreasons.com. So that's SOMME reasons, one word.com. And you can put in a questionnaire request, something like that. You can send me an email directly as well. It's somereasons@outlook.com. And ask questions. I do staff training, which is a lot of fun when I go in the restaurants and people are learning how to sell wine. Because when you sell wine, you know about it, you can sell it better, then you make more money, then everybody's happy, then work is more fun. Corporate events is really fun. I've done quite a few golf tournaments. I'm doing the Black Celebrity Polo and Jazz match in Washington, D.C. No, it's in Baltimore. So I'm excited to be doing that.
I might come on for that.
It's fun. It's fun. So if you haven't gone to the Black Polo Celebrity match in Baltimore for Memorial Day weekend.
I'll actually be there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you need to come.
I need to.
I'm so excited.
More
Yes. And so I do those type of events as well. And just one-on-one classes if you're looking to have a party. And I know some really great, like no and low alcohols for baby showers and people that are carrying or people that just don't want to drink something that has alcohol. There's a lot of really cool options too. So send me an email. You can give me a phone call. You can message me or DM me on social media. You can talk to Chrissy. She can get you to me too.
Well, I definitely will.
But it's worth it because I'm here to help you to enhance whatever event that you're going to have or to host your event too. A couple fraternities and sororities I worked with, which has been really cool where we did that. Mm-hmm. And it's just a lot of fun to do guided wine tastings as well as wine blendings where you create your own bottle of wine. So I've been doing red wine.
I've seen that a lot.
So some people do it like they make it sweet. I don't really do that. So I do a couple ones like Bordeaux blend, a Rioja hot blend from Spain, create your own rosé, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. And, just things like that. So it's fun.
So this is something that I do, and make sure you reach out, like, share, subscribe, first of all, before we end. And, Jodi will be able to tell you more about her trip to France, Chile, and so many other places that she's visited around the world. At the end of every conversation, I like to play a little game where we get off subject matter and we just ask each other random questions.
Fair.
So I'm going to let you pick one.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick one. That'd be really weird, I'm sure. These are our conversation cards.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and read me what you have, and I will answer.
What's your favorite outdoor activity?
I went jogging today.
Is that your favorite?
I don't do outdoors, but I enjoyed that. First thing in the morning.
Not a good answer.
Not a good answer?
That's not your favorite thing to do.
I'm not an outdoorsy person. You know what? I take it back. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing to do? Mm-hmm. It's going to sound boring, but I love to go outside and water my plants.
Oh,
it gives me so much peace. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know I wanted to do it because I'm horrible with plants, but I'm getting better.
Congratulations.
Really, the plants are starting to grow outside. So I thought to myself, I wanted to go out there today, but I had so much to do to get ready.
Right.
But going outside, with my plants, it's sitting out first crack of the morning as the birds. And I love the locusts. Now I'm starting to think, I love locusts, the sound of them when the sun is setting. And
that is very interesting.
And drink my coffees or my teas and just connect. So that is my favorite outdoor activity.
I accept that answer. Yes.
If you could have any actor or actress play you in a movie, who would it be? That's fun.
Wow. Okay. I don't know actors or actresses very well. I honestly don't know actors and actresses. I don't. I watch movies. I just don't know who people are.
What's your favorite movie?
That's completely irrelevant. It doesn't work.
I told you these questions were weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Who's the woman that plays, she doesn't look anything like me. I don't know.
Who is she? That's right. Figure out.
Okay, so the one with Why Did I Get Married? And she was about to fight Marcus.
Jill Scott?
No, not Jill Scott.
Oh, Tasha. Her name is, she just did a Vogue magazine cover.
Yes.
I love
She's so great.
She is great. And she's in a new series now where she does like a talk show or something. Mm-hmm. She's a